It's hard to believe, but the unthinkable may already be happening. Satellite data, river flow readings, and emergency geological reports are now pointing to a terrifying new reality. Niagara Falls, one of Earth's most powerful natural landmarks, may be collapsing from within.
Right at the brink of Niagara Falls, Ontario, a brand new attraction is looking to take visitors on a breathtaking journey like no other.
For centuries, the falls have thundered between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, channeling more than 84,000 cubic feet of water per second, a living heartbeat connecting the Great Lakes. But over the last few months, that pulse has started to weaken, distort, and now reverse. At first, experts dismissed the strange readings as weather-related, but when sensors detected massive ground shifts beneath the Niagara Escarpment, the story changed. GPS instruments showed the land beneath the falls tilting, while InSAR satellites detected subtle subsidence zones stretching along the entire gorge. The implication? The very rock supporting Niagara Falls is fracturing, and the crack is growing deeper every day. Then came the shocking discovery. New sinkholes have begun forming upstream near Grand Island, while the riverbed itself is thinning in spots where subterranean caverns have been discovered. It appears that water is vanishing into underground voids, bypassing the main channel entirely. If this structural collapse continues, scientists warn, Niagara could drain Lake Erie in a catastrophic surge, unleashing an unstoppable torrent downstream that would reconfigure the entire Great Lakes system. The USGS and Canadian Geological Survey have issued emergency monitoring orders across the region. A joint task force is now tracking underground flow patterns that suggest the formation of a new subterranean passage, one that could drain multiple lakes through the crumbling limestone shelf. If Niagara Falls, the Great Gate of the Great Lakes, truly collapses, the chain reaction could be irreversible. Because if the heart of North America's freshwater system breaks open, how long before the rest of the continent begins to bleed? Chapter 1. The Tremor Beneath the Waterfall. It was supposed to be eternal, a roar that would never fade. But beneath the mist of Niagara Falls, the ground itself has begun to whisper, and that whisper is turning into a tremor. In early 2025, a cluster of microquakes rippled through the Niagara Escarpment, subtle at first, barely noticeable against the constant thunder of falling water. Yet instruments detected a pattern no seasonal frost or river pressure could explain. Rhythmic, low-frequency pulses moving directly beneath the Horseshoe Falls. Then USGS satellite data and InSAR interferograms revealed a chilling truth. The bedrock under the waterfall was tilting 7 millimeters per month toward the gorge. For a formation moving millions of tons of water, that shift was enormous. It meant stress was building deep within the rock. Hydrologists monitoring the Niagara River recorded strange anomalies. Pressure waves traveling against the current, eddies appearing where none should exist, and faint bursts of sediment surging upward from the depths. The data pointed to one conclusion: the riverbed was fracturing from within. Acoustic probes embedded in the gorge walls confirmed it. The limestone was vibrating at harmonic frequencies identical to those heard before historical cliff collapses. Beneath the roar of the falls, a second, deeper hum had begun. The sound of the earth loosening its grip. When two sinkholes suddenly opened on Goat Island, scientists discovered a network of caverns connecting directly to the upper river. Water was draining into them at high velocity, eroding the soft shale below. Lake Erie's surface readings soon dropped by centimeters, confirming the leak was real. Thermal scans from NASA's ICESA-2 exposed concentric zones of deformation expanding outward from Niagara Falls. The subsidence rings, nearly 12 kilometers wide, indicated a regional event rather than a localized fracture. Engineers warned that the phenomenon resembled a progressive collapse, where multiple faults interlock and fail together. The first stage of a potential Great Lakes drainage event. By late spring, geophysical teams from both the USGS and Canadian Geological Survey had set up continuous monitoring grids. Laser altimetry and gravitational sensors tracked every millimeter of descent. Their findings left no doubt. Niagara's foundation was hollowing out, the limestone base thinning as water pressure carved new subterranean channels. Experts now call it the Niagara Falls Collapse 2025 scenario, a possible chain reaction where structural failure at the falls triggers cascading shifts throughout the Great Lakes Basin. If that happens, Lake Erie could drain within days, lowering regional water tables and altering continental drainage for centuries. For now, the waterfall still thunders, tourists still gather, and the mist still rises. But beneath that beauty, the continent is quietly changing shape. And if the strongest waterfall in North America can begin to crumble from below, then perhaps the rest of the Great Lakes are already waiting for their turn to fall silent. Chapter 2. The Vanishing River. It started with a whisper, and then the river began to fade. For generations, the Niagara River has thundered with unstoppable force, channeling the life of the Great Lakes through its mighty gorge. But now, the unthinkable is happening. The river that never stopped is vanishing. By mid-June, hydrologists monitoring the corridor noticed a silent collapse in flow. Instruments showed a 9% reduction in discharge, an anomaly that no seasonal pattern could explain. At first, engineers suspected a fault in the control gates at the hydropower control dam, but all systems were operating normally. The missing water wasn't being diverted, it was slipping underground. Satellite data from NASA's Landsat 9 and ESA's Sentinel-1 InSAR confirmed what ground teams feared most. The Niagara riverbed was collapsing inward. Subtle depressions, some several kilometers long, were forming along the channel between Grand Island and Tonawanda. The earth beneath one of the world's greatest waterfalls was giving way. Sonar imaging painted an even darker picture. Beneath the surface, vast caverns had opened, forming what appeared to be a new underground river system. A pressurized corridor cutting directly through the limestone base of the Niagara Gorge. Water was escaping through unseen tunnels, traveling beneath residential neighborhoods and farmland before re-emerging miles away. Researchers from the USGS Earth Dynamics Division lowered heat probes and found temperatures up to 4 degrees Celsius higher than expected, evidence of high-velocity friction within the cracks. One geophysicist described it bluntly: the river is eating through its own foundation. Residents began noticing the change long before the headlines. In Niagara Falls, Ontario, locals reported a faint hum underfoot, a deep vibration that seemed to pulse every few seconds. Wells fluctuated wildly, basements flooded with warm, mineral-rich water, and strange fogs rolled across the gorge at night. The Niagara Escarpment itself seemed to breathe, rising and sinking by centimeters. As data poured in, computer simulations from the Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory revealed the potential consequences. If this underground drainage corridor continues expanding, Lake Erie could begin draining directly into subterranean voids, bypassing the Niagara River altogether. Within 72 hours of full breach, the Great Lakes could lose billions of cubic meters of water, enough to alter continental gravity fields measurable by Graco satellites. Environmental experts now warn that the Niagara Falls Collapse 2025 could trigger the largest hydrogeological chain reaction in recorded history. Without its natural outlet, Lake Erie's pressure would destabilize, forcing sudden shifts throughout the interconnected Great Lakes drainage basin. The Niagara River, once a roaring artery of North America, is now a ghost, whispering beneath the earth, carving secret tunnels in the dark. And if the ground keeps opening, what drains next might not just be a lake, but the heart of an entire continent. Chapter 3. The Chain of Lakes. It began as a single fracture, but what happens when that crack runs through an entire continent? The Great Lakes, once Earth's largest reservoir of freshwater stability, are now trembling under the same forces tearing Niagara Falls apart. The Great Lakes are not 5 isolated bodies of water. They are a single, living organism, a vast circulatory system stretching over 1,200 kilometers, connecting Lakes Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario in one unbroken flow. Together, they hold nearly 1/5 of the planet's fresh surface water, feeding cities, farmlands, and ecosystems across 8 US states and 2 Canadian provinces. For thousands of years, the chain has remained balanced. Water flowing gently from Superior to Huron, through Erie, and over Niagara Falls into Ontario, finally reaching the Atlantic via the St. Lawrence River. But according to USGS satellite data and NOAA hydro models, that balance is beginning to collapse. Since the first deformation was recorded beneath Niagara in early 2025, subtle but undeniable drops in Lake Erie's water level have been detected. Instruments show a continuous decline of 2 to 3 centimeters per month, far beyond seasonal variation. At the same time, hydrologists monitoring Lake Huron's southern outlet report slight increases in discharge velocity, suggesting a shifting equilibrium within the system. Computer simulations from the Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory now confirm the worst-case scenario. If the Niagara outlet fully collapses, Lake Erie could drain catastrophically into the emerging underground corridor. The sudden pressure drop would destabilize connected basins, triggering a chain reaction of hydrological collapse across the Great Lakes. The consequences would be immediate and irreversible. As Lake Erie's water level fell, Lake Huron would begin funneling excess flow southward in a desperate attempt to stabilize the gradient. The resulting surge could scour entire riverbeds, flooding low-lying areas of Michigan, Ohio, and Ontario before draining into the expanding Niagara Rift. The ecological devastation would be unprecedented. Wetlands supporting millions of migratory birds would dry out. Spawning cycles for perch, salmon, and walleye would fail. Toxic sediments, long buried beneath the lake beds, would be exposed to air, releasing mercury and phosphorus back into the environment. The collapse of one lake could poison the next. Beyond the environment lies a human disaster. More than 40 million people across the US and Canada rely on the Great Lakes Basin for drinking water, agriculture, and industry. Cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Toronto, and Buffalo draw billions of gallons daily from a system now showing signs of geological failure. If even one link in the chain breaks, freshwater infrastructure across North America could face an existential crisis. And as satellites continue to record deforming shorelines and changing gravitational signatures, a new phrase is spreading among researchers: the Great Lakes Pulse. It describes a slow, rhythmic shift in crustal elevation, as if the entire basin is breathing, rising and falling in unison with the underground pressure beneath Niagara. What began as a localized collapse beneath a waterfall now threatens to rewrite the hydrology of an entire continent. If the Great Lakes drainage system gives way, it won't just reshape North America's map. It will test humanity's ability to survive when nature decides to rearrange its own design. Chapter 4. The Crumbling Escarpment. Beneath the mist and thunder of Niagara lies one of geology's great paradoxes. Beauty built on fragility. The Niagara Escarpment, a massive ridge of sedimentary rock stretching from New York to Wisconsin, was carved over hundreds of millions of years by retreating glaciers and relentless erosion. Its layered structure, soft shale below, hard dolomite above, makes it spectacular but unstable. For centuries, this imbalance has caused slow retreat. The falls have receded more than 11 kilometers since the Ice Age. But new research shows that retreat may be turning into collapse. High-resolution seismic imaging has revealed deep fractures slicing vertically through the dolostone caprock. Below them, water pressure builds inside the shale, creating pockets that expand and burst like bubbles in concrete. When one fails, the entire overlying block can shear off without warning. Engineers monitoring the gorge report sudden drops in rock integrity, up to 30% in key support zones since January 2025. Parts of the ledge are now hollow. In one terrifying incident, a research probe lowered into the gorge recorded an echo lasting nearly 5 seconds. Proof of massive air gaps beneath the rock shelf. If these voids connect, the falls could experience what's known as catastrophic undercutting, a phenomenon where the surface collapses into the hollow beneath. The result would be instantaneous. A wall of water, hundreds of feet high, tearing through the gorge at supersonic speed. It wouldn't just reshape Niagara, it would redraw the map of the Great Lakes entirely. Chapter 5. The Underground Surge. As the collapse deepens, attention is turned to what lies below. Teams from the Canadian Geological Survey and USGS Earth Dynamics Division have deployed borehole sensors along both sides of the river. The instruments revealed something that defies precedent: a steady, rhythmic vibration deep underground, consistent with fluid movement through bedrock. Hydrogeologists now suspect the formation of an underground superchannel, a vast system of tunnels where surface water is draining into the crust itself. The last time anything remotely similar was recorded was during the formation of Iceland's lava tubes. But here, the flow is cold and under immense pressure. Thermal probes indicate that the subsurface temperature beneath Niagara has risen by 3 degrees Celsius in just 2 months, likely due to friction from high-velocity water forcing its way through narrow cracks. That heat, in turn, weakens surrounding rock, widening the fractures further. Simulations show that if this underground surge breaches the regional aquifer boundary, it could begin pulling water directly from Lake Erie's deep basin. Once that siphon effect begins, it would be nearly impossible to stop. To geologists, it's the worst-case scenario, a runaway feedback loop where erosion feeds collapse and collapse fuels erosion. Each day the falls grow lighter, thinner, and more unstable, while the earth beneath them grows louder. Chapter 6. The Continental Warning. The crisis at Niagara is no longer local, it's continental. Recent InSAR readings show deformation patterns extending far beyond the falls, stretching west toward Lake Michigan and east toward the Adirondacks. The crust across the region is flexing, ever so slightly, but in unison. Some scientists now believe the collapse is tied to a much deeper process: isostatic rebound. As glaciers melt and pressure on the crust decreases, land that was once weighed down by ice is rising again. That uplift is tilting the Great Lakes basin itself, changing the natural flow paths of water. If that rebound interacts with the collapsing escarpment, it could trigger a rebalancing of the entire Great Lakes watershed, redirecting rivers, draining basins, and flooding new plains. NASA's GRACE FO satellites have even detected changes in gravitational pull over the region, proof that mass redistribution is already underway. The Great Lakes may literally be moving toward a new equilibrium. one that could erase modern shorelines and alter weather patterns across North America. The message from the data is clear. Niagara's collapse is not an isolated event. It's part of a wider shift, a continental readjustment that may have already begun. Chapter 7. The moment of collapse. It starts slowly, a faint rumble beneath the roar of falling water. Then, the tone changes. The hum becomes a growl, and in seconds, the entire escarpment begins to shudder. Seismometers spike. Ground cameras capture the unthinkable. The horseshoe falls splitting down the middle. A fissure ripping open where millions once stood in awe. Chunks of dollarstone, each the size of houses, plunge into the void. The river surges, then hesitates, before exploding forward with unstoppable force. A shockwave of air and mist races down the gorge. The water level of Lake Erie drops visibly in minutes. Sirens wail across Buffalo and Niagara-on-the-Lake. Dams downstream strain under the sudden flood. Hydro plants shut down. Within hours, the river's roar fades to silence. Where Niagara Falls once thundered, there is only mist and a widening hole where the river once ran. Satellite feeds show Lake Erie's surface dropping by nearly 1/2 meter, its outflow diverted into the subterranean caverns below. The Great Lake system has lost its outlet. In the hours that follow, emergency teams scramble to map the new landscape. The Niagara River no longer exists, replaced by a black chasm stretching miles underground, glowing faintly with trapped methane and heat. The Niagara collapse, as it will come to be known, marks the first time in human history that an entire continental drainage system has changed course overnight. Final chapter. When the chain breaks. In the aftermath, scientists struggle to comprehend the scale. The collapse of Niagara Falls has triggered secondary effects across the Great Lakes Basin. Pressure shifts, shoreline fractures, and unexplained seismic tremors as far away as Detroit and Chicago. Lake Erie continues to fall. Lake Huron begins to follow. The delicate balance that kept the Great Lakes alive for thousands of years is gone. Hydrologists warn that this chain reaction may not stop until the system finds a new outlet, possibly through ancient riverbeds buried beneath the Midwest. If so, the Great Lakes as we know them could shrink into isolated basins within a generation. Satellite imagery taken weeks later shows the region transforming. New sinkholes near Cleveland, subsidence near Toronto, and a faint depression line stretching towards the St. Lawrence. The continent itself is rewriting its waterways, and beneath it all, the earth hums, a low, steady vibration that no one can quite explain. Was this collapse a natural cycle, a sign of deeper instability, or something humanity set in motion through centuries of geological strain and imbalance? Whatever the cause, one truth remains. When Niagara Falls fell, the continent changed forever. And as scientists race to understand what's next, one haunting question echoes louder than the roar that once filled the gorge. If the heart of North America's water system can collapse overnight, what else beneath our continent is already beginning to break? Stay informed and subscribe for more deep investigations into Earth's changing systems. Because what's happening beneath Niagara Falls right now could be the beginning of something much bigger. The Niagara Falls collapse isn't just a local event. It's part of a broader pattern scientists are calling the Great Lakes instability. As USGS satellite data, InSAR imagery, and Canadian Geological Survey reports continue to reveal new deformation zones, the evidence points to a growing geological chain reaction spreading across North America. If the Great Lakes drain through newly formed underground passages, it could alter freshwater flow, weather systems, and even continental groundwater levels. This is not speculation. It's measurable, ongoing, and accelerating with every new seismic reading. The question now is not if the system changes, but how fast. Our channel follows these stories in real time. From the hidden fractures beneath Lake Erie and Ontario, to the rising magma chambers under Yellowstone, and the pressure buildup along the Cascadia subduction zone. Every week, new geological discoveries challenge what we thought we knew about stability, erosion, and the power of the planet itself. So if you want to stay ahead of breaking updates, Niagara Falls subsidence, Great Lakes collapse scenarios, and 2025 geological anomalies, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because sometimes the most powerful warnings don't come from space. They come from the ground beneath our feet. The rivers that stop flowing, and the fault lines that refuse to stay silent. This is not just science. It's the story of a planet trying to rebalance. And we're watching it happen in real time.